Well, it was kind of past their Mount Olympus period, but
Yeah.
it was still a thrill. When I was a kid, like I said, I wanted to watch TV, I wanted to draw, but what I wanted to draw was for Mad Magazine. I wanted to be an idiot, one of the usual gang of idiots. And I wanted to work for Topps Bubblegum. So my dreams came true. Those were my dreams. Two dreams, but. I grew up wanting to work for Mad, and then I didn't want to work for Mad. Like in the 70s, I wanted to work for National Lampoon. I wanted to do underground comics like Robert Crumb. And so finally, like by the 80s, it was like I wasn't even thinking about Mad. And then they called after Bill Gaines died. And the first thing I said was, I can't work for you because you don't return artwork. And they said, the editor, John, said, no, we do return artwork. And I said, okay, so the rest is history. So I've done work for them over the years, including a few covers. And, it's fun. I think I have something in the current issue too. Alfred E. Newman of all things.
Really? That's you, Alfred? Yeah. How did you put your own spin on Alfred E. Newman?
It's tricky because you have that template, that the Norman Mingo template of the face. So I don't want to veer off from that. Other artists have, and it never works out. Like Jack Davis does a Jack Davis version of that face. Frank Frazetta did a couple, and they're terrible. I mean, I like Frank Frazetta's work, but he just didn't get it. You just stick with that template. You can't really I did a couple early ones in stipple because I was still doing the stipple style when I started working for Mad. So that was different. But now it's just like stick with that template, of what Norman Mingo did. You can't improve on that.
Now, the smart people, many of whom in this room, I'm sure, will number among these, who follow your blog, know that you are a collector and connoisseur of caricaturists and caricaturist work, including some unsung and uncelebrated people. And you've introduced me to a number of people I'd never known of before. What was the guy from Pittsburgh who did all the regional...
His name is John Johns.
Yeah. Man, he's good.
Yeah, he was. I was surprised. Yeah. I'd never heard of him either, and my friend Zach, who was also a caricaturist, connoisseur, introduced me to his work. And the thing was, like I wrote on the blog, he was a big fish in a small pond. In Pittsburgh, he was a big deal. But he never branched out like Andy Warhol left Pittsburgh and became, kind of famous. John John stayed in Pittsburgh and just did his cover for the Pittsburgh Gazette every week.
Pittsburgh Press.
Pittsburgh Press, that's right. Every week, a great caricature, for a decade. So,
now it's interesting because mostly you draw, not entirely. You do different kinds of things, but certainly in this book you draw in a realistic style. So I don't know if people would call that, or if you would call that caricature or not. I mean, you're not tracing a photo. You're giving your impression of Fred Mertz or William Crawley, but it's a realistic impression. Talk about the art of caricature and how you approach that, where you feel free sometimes to exaggerate, as you do in the old Jewish comedians books. Those really are caricatures.
They're living caricatures. I mean, they're walking, living caricatures. Those guys. What is there to exaggerate with those guys? It's like, my take on them was they're in your face. They still want to be. They still want to be remembered. They still want to work. They want to be in your face. So that's what I tried to capture. But they're living caricatures. I don't necessarily think of myself as a caricaturist. I'm more of I suppose, a portrait artist, but I bounce around because I exaggerate certain features, but sometimes I hold back on that. So I love great caricature, but I wouldn't consider myself a caricaturist necessarily. Well, I've done some over the years, but yeah, I love drawing faces that have I don't consider them ugly. I love drawing faces that are just alive, and I love drawing old Jewish comedians. Basically, that's what it comes down to. I love drawing Jews, and I love drawing comedians and old people. So that was I combined all that, and I've made a career out of it. That's all. But the Jewish thing is, I'm kind of done with the Jews now. I'm not doing a fourth volume. So
don't tweet that quote. I'm done with the Jews. You
can quote. I'm okay with it. I'm actually becoming an old Jew myself. So I look at myself in the mirror, and it's like enough is enough. I don't want my obituary to start off Drew Friedman, the guy who drew the old Jewish comedians. I don't want that. I'm satisfied with the liver spots. There
could be worse leads than that.
It's going to be liver spots. It's like the guy with the liver spots. Right. And the liver spots are my Ninas. That's my take.
Hirschfeld complained in the latter part of his life that he missed the opportunity to draw the stars of the golden age of Hollywood and Broadway, because he felt they were so much more distinctive looking. I mean, he loved drawing Laurel and Hardy, just as a for instance, or the Marx Brothers,
Yeah.
because they lent themselves to caricature so readily. As you said, they were almost living caricatures.
Have you been drawn by Hirschfeld?
No, I regret to say.
This young man was back here, Rob Sussman. He was drawn by Hirschfeld.
Lucky guy.
Yeah, yeah. And he's a handsome man, and you know, with a lot of character in his thing.
But he said that was one of the, when people asked what's different now or what do you like or dislike, that was one of the things he touched upon.
Yeah.
That he probably would have had the same problem drawing the Friends cast. Because
But he has, I believe.
Well, of course he has, because like he's a working artist. Right. He was a working artist, so he he was drawing whoever was in the public eye at that moment. But given the choice, I gather, of drawing, Jennifer Aniston and David Schwimmer and those guys, he'd rather have drawn Jerry Colonna, or somebody like that.
Well, naturally.
Yes. Who do you admire? Are there people you admire who are working today?
Yeah. Well, a lot of the illustrators who I've admired for years. Some of my favorite guys. I love Barry Blitz's work and Philip Burke's work and Victor Juhas and Edward Sorel and guys like that. You just don't see their work as much as you used to. My friend Stephen Croninger is a brilliant illustrator. He does the collage work, but you hardly see it, in print like the old days. It's just not the same. I think Photoshop has replaced a lot of that stuff. But yeah, I have, I guess a long list, and I don't want to leave any names out of illustrators, and I always see new stuff, that comes around. But I also love Robert Crumb and Daniel Close, a lot of the same cartoonists I've loved, admired for years.
And Jack Davis hasn't completely retired either.
No, he does commissions still. He's 86 now. I interviewed him in November, and he's still lively. He still loves, he's still as humble as ever, and would rather be on the golf course than anything. But he's still in the game.
And you even share a publisher.
That's right. Well, Fantagraphics did the Jack Davis anthology, the recent Jack Davis anthology. When I interviewed Jack, I just wanted to ask about basically his movie posters and which celebrities he had actually met from the movie posters that he had illustrated over the years. And I said, "Did you ever meet Woody Allen?" Because he did the Bananas poster. He said, "Yeah, he was in an elevator. He wouldn't talk to me, though. He just looked at me, he looked away, he wouldn't talk to me." I said, "Well, Madman World, did you meet any of those guys?" He said, "No, never met any of them. That was a funny movie, though." He said he was on the set of Russians Are Coming, but he was only allowed to talk to Josephine Levine, I think, the producer. He wasn't allowed to mingle with Carl Reiner or Peter Houston, any of the cast members. He said he was flown to the Jackson 5 ranch when he did the drawings of the cast members, the Jackson 5 for the animated TV show, the concept drawings, but he wasn't allowed to meet the Jackson 5. So I said, "They didn't even let you meet Tito?" You telling me that? No, they didn't meet Tito. He said, he did say, "Those boys all look alike," so I said, "Oh." End of discussion.
But God bless him, he's just extraordinary. Yeah. I loved reading your interview with him, too.
Yeah, well, it was like a thrill. I don't know if he knew who I was or anything, but it still was a thrill to talk with him and just be in his presence. And I love the old guys. The old mad guys are terrific. Mort Drucker and most of them are terrific. Just to talk with. Al Jaffe is great. Is great.
Now, how do you decide when you do your limited edition prints, which are mostly portraits? How do you settle on who's deserving of that and who you think there will be a demand for?
Yeah, I'm not even thinking about demand. I'm thinking about what feels right at the moment. So I've done about 30 of them maybe so far, and some of them have done great and unexpectedly, and some of them that I thought would do great, just did okay. They sell well, but I'm surprised occasionally. I did a Jerry Lewis, and I thought this is going to be the one. In fact, Jerry Lewis flew my wife and I to Las Vegas. And because he wanted a copy of the print that I did, it was basically imploring the Academy to give him a special Oscar. So he's so appreciative. He flew Kathy and I to Las Vegas, as his guest, and there's a photo of me presenting him with the print and everything. But it didn't sell that great, you know. I was surprised about that. But and then like I did a recent Muddy Waters that was our best-selling print, you know. There was no particular reason to draw Muddy Waters at this time, but you know, maybe because he just turned 99. I think, you know, maybe that's it. But you know, so I don't have a research department, you know, trying to figure this stuff out.
And are those same size prints? I mean, are those exact?